Hello, everybody. It is Rocco, your boy, coming at you once again with another Age of Sigmar video. In this class, as you can see right there and up there, we will be talking about how do you run demo games. Because part of the thing about being in this hobby of Warhammer is sharing it with the masses so you have people to play with. And now, how do we ensure a good player base at your local store? How do you build a community? How do you get your friends? How do you get your partner involved in this? Well, you run demos. Now, normally, what I like doing, because again, part of it is it's a tease. You go into like a Games Workshop store itself, these days, a Warhammer store, and then you go and see they've got like a few units that are on display, there's some dice nearby. It's usually whatever the starter box is, whether it's Stormcast and Corn or Stormcast and Nighthaunt or Stormcast and Cruel Boys or whatever they want to have beaten the pants off of Stormcast these days as their poster child. And you go talk to the manager, like, oh yeah, I'll teach you if you want to teach you. But how do you do that? What do we do here? Well, the first thing that you need to do is have two different forces. It could be within the same army if you only have one army, but I like having two relatively balanced forces, two armies that are going to be relatively about the same. I want them to play in multiple phases if they can. If I'm trying to show off certain mechanics to maybe someone's coming from another war game, um, I like to try to make my army here in this particular instance play in as many phases as possible to showcase the different rules, right? That's not always going to happen in my examples. In fact, it doesn't happen. But that's the goal, right? You're trying to figure out, okay, how do I show all the good? And, some armies, if some people ask, they do skew towards certain play styles. A lot of armies don't have good shooting. Some armies don't have good magic. Some don't even have wizards, right? And you're just like, well, how do I showcase the hero phase and some of the basic rules? And there's so many rules, Rocco. How do I do this? What do I do? What do I do? Well, again, here's what I would do. First, you do not play with uh, a lot of like the sub. You don't play with the sub faction rules. You don't play with the army rules. You just play with the core rule book, which has enough rules in it, and the rules on your war scroll. Keep this simple and pared down. You are not trying to cause confusion where there does need to be. This game is complicated enough just to get someone that agreed, probably after weeks, if not months, of you asking, "Hey, do you want to play this game with me? Hey, do you want to play this game?" There's no read to scare. There's no need to scare them off with like, oh, here's my auto unbind wizard. Here's a Slan that can dispel from anyone on the table and breaks all the core rules I'm trying to teach you. We're not trying to have gotcha moments on a brand new player. You're going to be taking this slowly, step by step. You yourself are going to take the first turn, showcase what magic's like, let them unbind it. If you have prayers on your priest, try to roll it. You're probably playing we'll call it a custom objective here. But it used to be the Rocco special. There are two objectives in the middle of the board. You roll the dice. Whoever's going second. Odds, one's important, evens, the other's important. And the important one's worth 2 points, the other one's worth one. And you fight over them. Right up in the middle of the board. Because some people are like, yeah, I like just having the two armies run at each other, and then you roll dice and hit each other. That's great. And that's fine. That's not the game of Age of Sigmar. The game is balanced around playing for objectives. Some armies are just better at killing things than others. And you just really have to be cognizant of that. So I like in my little games here, when I'm teaching brand new players or bringing new people into the fold, there's an objective we're fighting over, maybe two. Now, here we go. Set some stakes, set some realistic expectations. This is as we're walking through. Oh, on your war scroll, this is the movement, this is your armor save. Going to start off with the hero phase. and we go on, right? And then from there, it's just walking people through a game of Age of Sigmar. Like I said, I take my turn first, and then I move up to the middle of the board. So I can go, okay, cool, this is the hero phase. Everyone has their general life. Cool, get a command point. Thanks for showing up, right? I'm going to do my heroic action. My hero is so cool that they get to do this cool ability to try to get an extra command point. There's a list of them here if you want. Or, if they're brand new to war games in general, don't worry about heroic actions. Hero phase, cool. Sticking strictly to the war scrolls and the core rules. I'm going to cast Mystic Shield on my unit. If I am casting it and you have an enemy wizard, to me, within 30 inches of me, you can try to unbind it. Cool. Roll 2 dice. Whoever gets the higher number there, gets it. If I get it first, I need to even roll high enough to see if I get the spell. Then you get a chance to stop me. And then there's that back and forth starting to come through, right? It's like, cool. Hero phase, done. Movement, gotta go up here. Show them on the war scrolls. This is where the movement characteristic is. This is how many inches they go. I'll showcase a run roll. Oh, I ran with that unit. So now I can't shoot with it if it had a shooting attack. Or charge with it if I was in range to charge somebody. Show them what a shooting phase is. You don't do it with like Lumineth Realmlord shooting that's super buffed. You don't do it with Bow Snake shooting in the hero phase, but you have like a unit that had maybe Castigators and Stormcast that have normally bad shooting. Or like you're playing Ogre Maw Tribes and the guy's got a pistol. Again, we're not trying to overwhelm people here. We're not trying to do anything crazy. We're not trying to scare them away. And then you go about your turn. And you're like, okay, cool. Now it's your turn. Here we go. And you moved up. And then you don't even have to use reactions. They move up, they make the charges, life is good. And then you're like, okay, cool. Now here's a chance for you to experience the double turn. But I went first. So that means you could double turn me. The whole onus of it being a scary game ending thing isn't there because they could have the cool outcome of double turning you and potentially just winning the game. See where I'm going with this? Because the other big thing of this is generally you want the other person to win so they get more interested in the game. And then they're like, oh, wow, this is fun. And that's really how you get the people in on this. That's like the dirty little trick here. You don't go all out in a teaching game. The goal is for the other person to have fun and they win. And then they get hooked. Like, oh, where do I get this stuff? What do I do? And you just ease them into the hobby. Now, I'm going to go, because I've done this for in-person groups. I've done this for getting people to play on Tabletop Simulator around the world, and I've built and helped build communities by accident by doing that through Australia to through Europe to the US of A. Kind of funny to say. And if you're doing this on Tabletop Simulator, it's just the cost of the game. But the thing is though, everyone's like, oh, TTS, TTS. What ends up happening is they get the itch. It's like, well, I want my models to showcase my army's paint scheme, but to do my thing, and that is where you really get them into the game. And then next thing you know, you blink and it's been a month and they've painted up a whole army and they're ready to go to events. And then you show them the rest of the videos on this channel so they can learn how to actually play decent. But I digress. Let us cut over to some lists. Ooh. Hello, everybody. Back at the list here. So, just for a couple of examples here, I've got, these are just models that I'd have on hand anyway. And looking at the screen here, I've got a Lord Arcanum and Griff Charger, a unit of Evocators to show some more magic, and Liberators. I've got a cool blendy unit, a unit of basic troops, and a wizard. One cast wizard. A little bit fighty. Alright. Grand total, 500 points. For a demo game, I like 500 points. I do. It's very, very low stakes. It's not a lot of. This is 11 models in this army. You could throw this in a box and bring it down to your local game store. You have a good time. Again, play around with the units, the points. You want like a wizard or two. Showcase a cool thing that the army is known for. Um, Stormcast, oddly enough, can do a lot of mortal wounds for an army that's very susceptible to them, but they move kind of slow and they die pretty easy. And this could be an army, or take some of the stuff from these different starter boxes. These Vanguard boxes are fantastic for this. A lot of them do come with complete units. They're about 500-ish points. If you have a couple of those, use that as a starting point. And Stormcast are very popular because they are the poster child. They also get beat up on a lot, so you might end up playing these. And if you've had a couple of the different starter boxes, when I came in at the beginning of second edition, my wife and I split the Stormcast versus Nighthawk box. That actually wasn't balanced point wise. Neither was the one of Stormcast versus Cruel Boy. So you need to be a little cognizant of that and be careful. And what would I have going against this? Well, Saurus is really popular. And the Seraphon here. And again, I'm not selecting a constellation. I'm not doing command traits. I'm not adding spells. We're not messing with battalions. We're not doing Null Stone adornments here. This is basic, honest Warhammer. We have a skink wizard, like a one-cast wizard. A unit of cavalry to be a cool unit, just like the Evocators. We've got, like, parity here. Then a unit of Saurus warriors. And basic stuff that you can get, because you're gonna have them anyway for your army because they're good if you're collecting this. But that's the premise, right? A hero, preferably magic, to show off the hero phase or has some cool ability. You're not plopping Bellacore down. You're not plopping a Bloodthirster down. If you're going Khorne, you're going like a Slaughter Priest, maybe some Skull Fiend. You know what? Hey, let's make a Khorne one right now. Let's do it live. All right, again, I'm on the lovely Warhammer Community War Scroll Builder. We're going to go Khorne, Blades of Khorne, because this was the original starter box for Age of Sigmar. We would want let's see here. Again, no Bloodthirsters. We want a Slaughter Priest. That's the cool priest. It also can unbind, like it has a spell. And I wouldn't use the terrain piece with this either in a demo game. And maybe you bring, because if you have Khorne, you probably have a huge collection of it. Maybe bring some demons to summon too to show off that mechanic. But again, you don't need to. It's the extra rule that's an allegiance ability, and you do not need to do a demo game with allegiance abilities. Save that for their first learning game of like, cool, I'm up to like 1,000 points, or I have my Vanguard box done, and it's like, I'm gonna seriously go on here. This is my second game. Here we go. I'm actually gonna play you. But Slaughter Priest, always a good thing. At 110 points. All right, Blood Warriors, boom, 300 points right there. What? 10 plus 190. My arithmetic teacher is loving me. All right, we have 200 points ish to spare. We could go. Again, Khorne's thing is Skull Reapers. There we go. That's what I was thinking. Again, a nice heavy infantry kind of thing. Or maybe you go and you own a bunch of Flesh Hounds. Then you got a bunch of speed, and then the Blood Warriors are more your anvil in this sense. Still a cool unit. Have a way to reflect mortal wounds, and this is 500 points. And make it around what you own. Of course, that is always the disclaimer here. But this is doable, right? This is us right now. We've already gone for the game. You know how to play. That's why you're doing this. But this is how you set it up. You have some basic terrain. You don't have to be crazy. I mean, my very first intro game to Age of Sigmar, um, gosh, yeah, it was at a Warhammer store. But my very first game of Warhammer ever was playing on a ping pong table in my friend's basement. We used books and like tissue boxes as buildings in terrain. Again, if 30-year-old me now would actually have real terrain and stuff to do this with in person, and I'd go to a store, have the whole setup. But you're looking for something that, again, in summary here, can fit on like a coffee table. You don't need a lot of dice. You don't need a lot of units. You don't need a lot of models. This is 21 models because you're going a little bit more hoardy, but you could pick a more elite unit. You can go with the Skull Reapers, drop your flesh ounce. You still have parity at 490 here. Hopefully you get my point. And hopefully you can use this as maybe this is your sign to start a local community up where you don't have any because, you have to travel out for tournaments and events and stuff. And you're like, if only I can get my buddy down the street in on this and a few of us to come over our house maybe once a month and play. I've got a big basement. I've got a spare room. No, this is your opportunity. This is how you do it. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Be nice, roll some dice, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment and more stuff you want us to cover. Bye.